Welcome back to the Fuel Show. Still to come, we're going to be celebrating 60 years. That's a diamond anniversary with the Saab Motor Company. And now it's time for our second Behind the Wheel. We're taking a look at the 2007 Nissan Quest. Now, the Nissan Quest originally came out in 1993. It was a cooperative deal between Ford and Nissan. The Ford version was called the Mercury Villager. Well, now we're in the third generation of this vehicle. It's made in Canton, Mississippi. They made about 30,000 of these last year, and if you want to buy one, you'll pay between $25,000 and $35,000 for one, and they're going strong for this year as far as sales are concerned. Dennis and Ian will take a look at the 2007 Nissan Quest.
The first category for the new Nissan Quest is QFactor. It's the Gadget Tech score. And the one thing I really like this year is the usability from the outside. The power sliding doors and the power rear hatch definitely add this year.
Well, sure, it makes it useful for someone who's actually going to buy the vehicle. I mean, to get kids in and out of it, to get groceries in and out of the back. It's nice to be able to hit the remote, one button touch, and bam, the door's open. Now you move to the inside of the vehicle, and you have things like the useful navigation system, a rear sonar setup, also with a camera so you can see the kids behind you. It's amazing how they've obviously been intuitive to make the design have to do with families, and that's the kind of person that's going to buy this vehicle. Now you add in a couple other nice things. Great sound system, I think, in the little Quest, and also the availability of Bluetooth technology. They actually make it illegal in some states to talk on your phone. It's nice to be able to link up your cell phone and just kind of, well, maybe look like that crazy person talking to yourself in the car.
It's also got that cool sky view glass panel roof that's a neat feature. Overall, I think we're going to have to give it a high score, maybe 4 for QFactor. The next category for the Nissan Quest is curb appeal. It's how the car looks from the street. And, well, it's got an athletic arching roof line and what?
Athletic arching roof line. Are you trying to build up the minivan?
It's a minivan, you're right.
Put the minivan on the pedestal?
You're right.
Trying to justify something that you know is not true, which is it's not a good-looking vehicle?
True.
Okay, well, let's not be too harsh. Now, listen, it's a minivan. It has a usefulness that's more important than how it looks.
Yeah.
When you take that much space and you're trying to make it attractive, there's only so much you can do. Now, do I think it's better looking than some other minivans on the market?
Yes.
Yes, they've added a nice new grille this year. Some good-looking wheels for 2007 have been added. And overall, it does have an athletic arching roof line, I'll give you that.
It's got I like the angled front end on it, too, with the new headlight look it's got.
Yeah,
it's average for a regular car and above average for a minivan.
And I'll give you this, it actually has some fenders. I mean, you can see some fender haunches on there. So overall, we have to be realistic. It is not a work of art, but as far as minivans go, it kind of makes you forget that you're in
a minivan. Yeah, well, we'll do 3.25 for curb appeal. Performance is the next category for the Nissan Quest, and it's, well, how the vehicle performs. And power is provided by a 3.5-liter V6, more than enough to get this thing around.
Sure, 235 horsepower and 240 foot-pounds of torque. Now, what it is basically the Q family of motors from Nissan. It's like a detuned 350Z motor, which is
except with an athletic arching roof line.
Yeah, well, you're building it up again, and there's nothing wrong with the motor in this vehicle. It's something that's been a real standby for Nissan. It's something that has almost bulletproof long-term quality and is obviously drivability. Fuel mileage was a little bit less than what I would have liked to see. I got a little in the high teens depending on how hard I drove it. I think someone that drove it as their everyday vehicle could certainly get into the 20s. Now, when you look at things like the four-wheel anti-lock brakes, four-wheel independent suspension, front and rear sway bars, electronic brake force distribution, and of course traction control and a few other dynamic stability control options, it does have an overall feel that gives this minivan kind of a, I hate to say it, a crisp feel from behind the wheel. A driver won't be numb to sleep. They're not going to get in the van and feel that they're driving a brick with the kids and the groceries in it. It does have something to keep your eyes awake while you're at the wheel.
Yeah, it's also got the Michelin Pax run flat system, so you'll never have to worry about getting a flat when you're on a road trip again. So overall, I think it's a fairly decent performing vehicle, a lot of fun to drive. Let's go ahead and give it 3.75 for performance. Fit and finish is the next category for the Nissan Quest, and it measures the overall build quality. And I think Nissan has done a good job in the last few years of kind of marrying off technology to infinity and then bringing it back for their kind of lower entry-level vehicles and now translating into their minivans. They build a tight car.
Well, you know, it kind of comes as a double-edged sword. You know, the problem is I've driven an Infiniti M35 in the last few weeks, and now I've also had some time in Nissan Versa. That's a $52,000 sports sedan all the way down to their $15,000 entry-level car. Now, you take a minivan like this, it's ranging in the 30s to mid-30s in range as far as price. It's interesting that you see a lot of the same material materials. Now I know that it's one family and they try to use things like, say, the light stalks that are on the side of the center console for the wipers or something, and it's a little bit unnerving to see that in Infiniti. But the other side is you're seeing $55,000 vehicle items in a $35,000 minivan. Overall, there is a few things that aren't as finished, and there's some materials that are there that are more for durability. For the kid has the crayon on the inside of the car, or the seats are set up to be a little bit more durable to a dog jumping up and down on them versus leather seats that are set up for quality and more a plush idea. So I don't know, it's kind of in the middle for me.
Yeah, I think they've gone away from the luxury towards usability, and for that, we'll give it a 3.5 for fit and finish. Drivability is the final category for the Nissan Quest. It measures the overall usefulness on a day-to-day basis of a vehicle, and the Nissan Quest is very useful for everybody doing their everyday tasks, plus it's fun to drive.
And I think you got a good point there. You know, when you look at the power that it has, the availability of going all the way up into the option list where you have 5 sunroofs and DVD players, the ability to have some fun behind the wheel in a minivan is kind of a strange item, but also just general comfort. I mean, driving this car all day long doesn't make you fatigued, and I think that's a good point. You take on all the things that you can do with a minivan, short of hauling a load of lumber or a bunch of bark dust from Home Depot. I think you've really hit the head on the nail. It has a price point that's definitely in the realm of reality for a lot of people, and I think that this Nissan Quest brings a lot to the table.
It does. Plus, it's kind of the whole family thing. It's got the DVD, usable doors, the power door, sliding rear hatch. Everything is great. 4.25 for drivability.
Let's see how Dennis and Ian scored the 2007 Nissan Quest. For QFactor, the Tech and Gadget score, they gave it a 4.0. For Curb Appeal, a 3.25. For Performance, a 3.75. Fit and Finish was a 3.5, and Drivability, the overall usefulness of a vehicle, it was a 4.25. The total score for the 2007 Nissan Quest was 18.75 out of a possible 25. When fuel returns, we're celebrating 60 years. It's a diamond anniversary for Saab.